Hi, I'm Patrick H. Madden from the Binghamton University Computer Science Department. What I'd like to present today is PStools. It's a library of PostScript tools that we're going to do at WOSET 2020, and it's joint work with a couple of my students, Sarp Ozdemir and Jennifer Siebert. They're both undergrads, and also Mohammed Kassani. He's one of my PhD students. So you can find the library out on GitHub. Here's a QR code that'll take you there. We've also got a link to the WOSET paper and also a link to this video. The motivation for this work comes from our experience developing EDA design automation tools for a variety of things, primarily placement and routing. When you're doing a place and route tool, it can run for hours or days even, and it's really pretty handy to see what's going on inside the algorithm as you go along. But we didn't want to sit there in front of a terminal and build some sort of graphical user interface to spy what was going on. And so what we wound up doing was generating PostScript files that we could save on the machine and then go back later after the run is done to sort of leaf through them, find out what happened during a run. So PostScript is a great language for doing graphical images. It's relatively compact, very flexible, and there's tons of things that can read and write PostScript. So that's where we went. But the problem is it's a little bit cryptic. If you're working in C or C++ and you've got a lot of data structures going on, it's hard to get your head in the right space so that you can generate PostScript. And so that's where this library came from. We wanted to have an easy-to-use interface and nice API so that you write code just like you're writing C or C++, generate lines, draw stuff, and then have it turned into PostScript without thinking too much about it. So let's dive in, and I want to show you what you need to know so you can get up and running fairly easily. The code and all the library is fairly short, and it's not all that tricky. So first off, there's PSInit, which is going to return what I'll call a PS context data structure. This function opens the output file to store the PostScript and generates the PostScript boilerplate so that things render correctly. You can specify any origin and image size you like. PostScript is vector-based and nicely scalable. If you want to draw a line or a circle or some text, there are straightforward functions to call. The library has a bit more than this, which you can easily find. So let's take a look at this thing in action. Here's example 4 from the library, which draws a pie chart and some histograms. It's not too tricky. We open the file to generate some PostScript, and the drawing surface is 1000 by 1000. And then we've got PS pie chart, which draws a simple pie chart. Here we've got 5 items going in. And let's dive into PS pie chart and show you how this works. Not a lot of code. We draw a circle, and then here we draw the individual lines. And then down here we draw the text labels. Just a couple of loops, some simple trig, and calls to basic circles, lines, and text. To the details of what the library actually generates, well, here's the boilerplate that has to be at the start of a PostScript file, defining the size of the drawing area. And then here's the actual PostScript calls that create the graphics. It's easy to convert PostScript into PDF, which can then be inserted into other documents. We use GoScript, but there are other tools that you can use for this too. As I mentioned, our research group has been doing this for quite a while. So here's a figure from a paper that's nearly 20 years old, where we're doing placement legalization. Individual standard cells are in the rows are drawn, and then we've got lines to show the travel of each cell from abstract to legal positions, shown in red. Here's another old figure from one of our global routing papers, showing a congestion map. Because it's all vector-based, it still looks great and can be zoomed in indefinitely. One very useful thing to note, it's possible to add text comments to the PostScript file, and we've got PSNote to do that. Often we'll include details of tool parameters and other information, and it's all human readable within the PostScript. This way we can scan the images visually, and if something catches the eye and we want to take a closer look, we can go directly look at the PostScript source and figure out what was going on when an image was made. As an example, here's an image from the ISPD 2020 Machine Learning Placement Contest, and it was created by our group. And in the raw PostScript, we have all the experimental results information that's related to the image. We've even set things up so that you can take the PostScript and read it back into the tools to reconfigure the tools to get right back to where you started. Anyway, that's our PStools library. It's out on GitHub now, and we hope you grab it and find it useful. If you've got any questions or any comments, and if you do use it for something, give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you.